Hello and welcome to the Bridon League Open Cup and potentially the last game of Group B. This is a best of one between Goomba Gaming and Basically Unknown. If Goomba Gaming take the victory, we'll have one best of one tiebreaker coming up immediately after this game. So that's what they're hoping for. If they want a chance to get into the main group, they need to win not this game, but this game and the next. I'm GrandisV, and for this best of one, I will be joined by More Rage Please.
How's it going, Grandis? Yeah, it will be interesting to see what Goomba can do here. They're entrusting their tournament fate to two stand-ins. Exist has been playing with them pretty much throughout the tournament, but Alex has been in and out, so we'll see what the synergy is there. They'll open up with a little bit of the throwback combo in the Skywrath Centaur, so the roaming potential will be pretty strong. Basically Unknown electing to take first pick, and they'll pick up the Brewmaster.
Earlier today, Goomba Gaming had an amazing Sand King played by Gasha, so maybe we're going to see that again, but as far as their synergy with this 5-man unit, it was looking pretty solid earlier today, but that was up against Cleave that's not actually Cleave. It was pretty much 5 stand-ins, because right now they don't actually have a lineup.
Yeah, unfortunate to see that. Thankfully, it does come on the last day of the Group B stage, and Cleve a little bit out of reach in order for making this top one. Of course, top one moves on to the second group stage. We will have Group C commencing tomorrow as well, so big game here. If BU is able to do what they've been doing entirely for this group stage, they will move on to the next round. If Goomba able to take this, as Grandis mentioned, we'll go to one more best of one after this game for the tiebreaker. We'll see the PA banned out, as well as the Lycan and the Phoenix from Goomba. They'll ban out the Slark as well. Slark, definitely a nice roaming one position to have, especially if you're able to bring in IO +1 as well to set up a few ganks. BU are going to ban out the Jug and the Troll. They'll ban out the Terrorblade here, interestingly enough, so maybe that speaks to what direction they're going here afterwards, but they'll also ban the Axe.
More than anything, Terrorblade just an annoying hero to play up against. Honestly, not sure if there's anything immediately that would have been directly countered by that Basically Unknown are interested in picking up. But yeah, we'll have to see. Right now, both teams have one support as well as one nice utility core, but really nothing too telling in the draft so far. Goomba Gaming will snag up the Faceless Void.
Yeah, BU are going to pair up the IO Tiny here, so very standard coming up from them. Void is pretty good versus the IO. If he drags in from the Tether into the Chrono, that's pretty terrible for BU. He won't be able to get out those defensive relocates unless he's super diligent about the range within which you're actually pulled in from the tether, as opposed to just able to tether idly. So it'll be interesting to see how the IO is played up here for BU, but they are pretty comfortable with it. The Brewmaster, not the most ideal target for the Chronosphere, as he does have that Drunken Brawler, a little bit more effective HP that way, but so far there's a lot of ways to deal with him in terms of keeping him from splitting with the Chronosphere, with the Ancient Seal, and of course a bunch of burst damage coming out from that Skywrath Centaur combo. But either way, BU are probably going to be the ones to set the tempo for this one, being as they have picked up the Tiny IO.
Yeah, it's going to depend very heavily, as most games do, on the Blink Dagger timings from both sides. Goomba Gaming still lacking another one of their supports. If they want to go for it, Witch Doctor is always an option, but I would love to see the Sand King come out from them again. Just another way to start the fight on their own terms, and a really solid supporting combination with the Skywrath Mage.
Yeah, and undeniably, as you mentioned, the blink timing will be crucial to the ability for these teams to start to control the tempo of this game and push the envelope. And with the Tiny IO in the mid lane, presumably, we may see this Brewmaster go to the off lane, and maybe in that sense, slight edge towards Goomba in terms of the Centaur's ability to farm up that blink a little bit quicker. But the Brewmaster, not a bad off laner at all. I just generally like him better in a more farming oriented role. Either way, they could put the Tiny IO in the safe lane and keep that Brewmaster in the mid, but it looks like the rest of BU's draft will be indicative of that, as Goomba's looking to pick up, as you mentioned, probably their next support in this phase.
Definitely so. They're going to be eating through quite a chunk of the reserve time, so maybe in fact it's not going to be support after all, and they look instead towards another one of their cores. No matter what it is, it's going to be coming up in the next few seconds.
Yeah, very flexible thus far for them. The only thing that they are needing for sure is that mid laner, but they're going to pick up Enigma, and that's a little bit greedy from them, but I don't mind it at all. They do have decent dual lanes with the Skywrath Centaur and Faceless Void +1, unless they choose to put that Enigma in the off lane, but in that sense, they would be pretty weak in the mid, so I doubt that'll be the case. BU are going to pick up the Broodmother here. What are your thoughts on this pick? I mean, I like the Broodmother itself, but I'm not sure how well it works with a tiny IO.
In combination with the other heroes from Basically Unknown, I don't think it's really the best, but then again, if you look at Goomba's lineup, their counter push is very, very limited. You have the Stomp Double Edge coming out from the Centaur and potentially a Battle Fury or Maelstrom from the Faceless Void, but that's about it. Broodmother is going to be able to control this lane, especially considering Enigma is going to be pretty much non-stop jungling. They just don't have a way to deal with the Brood in lane, and Brood, with some global support from the IO Tiny, can find kills very easily.
Yeah, and with that web movement speed, should be able to reliably dodge out a hoof stomp, and therefore they don't have too much disable. So, yeah, definitely a good pick, as you mentioned, in the sense that she should have free reign over whatever lane she chooses to occupy. We'll see the LC banned out by BU, and the response from Goomba is the Queen of Pain. So, typical lane dominator in the mid there. A little bit of burst damage. That's very nice into the IO, and the Shadow Demon going to be picked up by Seb. Fucking mad here. Up against the Faceless Void is a pretty good pick.
The Queen of Pain for Goomba really feels like it's a very necessary choice for them as well, just offering any way to catch out the Broodmother and kill up the Spiderling army. It'll be interesting to see how this game works out. The Shadow Demon pick in particular is pretty interesting. They do get a lot of defensive usage of it, with the defensive disruptions up against Scarlet Mage and Faceless Void both. But then again, it is going to leave their supporting duo very limited in what they're actually able to accomplish. All eyes on the Tiny and Brewmaster. They're the ones that really need to control things for BU.
Yeah, definitely. So very defensive support duo from BU. And at this point, I do slightly favor Goomba's draft. There is, of course, the potential for BU to just have better movement. They are going to have to commit a lot to the Broodmother's lane. Broodmother definitely a menace throughout that early to mid game. So Goomba will have to commit to her lane, and perhaps then some space is created elsewhere by the Tiny IO combo and the Brewmaster. But at this point, it looks to me as if Goomba has a little bit more firepower.
Definitely, and to introduce the Goomba's side, Queen of Pain is going to be handled by Exist, Chill playing on the Faceless Void, Gasha on the Centaur Warner. Interestingly enough, he was playing support earlier on today, going to be playing on the Scarlet Mage, and Alex on the Enigma.
Yep, we're going to look over to the side of BU. They will have fucking Mad playing on the Shadow Demon. We've got the IO up for Magoma. Paris is going to play on the Tiny Sexy Bambo. Playing on the Broodmother and on the Brewmaster, waiting for him to load in, is Mind Control. He's very comfortable in the mid on that Brew.
Yeah, for now, hopefully we'll be able to get everybody loaded into this game as quickly as possible. I do also like Goomba's lineup quite a bit more, just with their more ability to actually find the initiations, as well as more than enough damage consistently throughout the game as well. It's really hard to count out an IO Tiny combination, but if Unknown ever at one point lose control of this game, it's going to be a hard battle to actually get back into the reins.
Definitely so, and I feel like they have a lot of ways to deal with these relocate ganks if they can anticipate it. Of course, a well-placed relocate from BU should find a good initiation, but they do have the Black Hole eventually. They've got the Centaur, who's not the most ideal target. They've got the Blink and the Time Walk from the Queen of Pain and Void, respectively. So I feel like Skywrath Mage is the only one that's entirely susceptible to those ganks, but the jump in from the Brewmaster as well, or a Disruption, should be able to secure an initiation from that relocate either way. We will see BU walking up towards what could be an aggressive try in this off lane. It looks like they will put Mind Control right in the mid on that Brewmaster and give Sexy Bambo that safe lane. So I really don't mind this laning decision from them. As you mentioned early in the draft, the Blink Dagger is going to be vital to their ability to start creating space and finding kills in this mid game.
Definitely, they might not be able to find it because of this aggressive trialing coming up from Basically Unknown. It looks like the lane matchups are more or less going to be as expected, with Broodmother up against the Faceless Void Scarlet Mage dual lane, which Sexy Bambo should be able to control reasonably well throughout this game. And honestly, the raw lanes coming out from Basically Unknown are completely acceptable. It's up to Goomba to actually make rotations especially once you get like level 6 or so on the Enigma with a couple points in Malphus and the Black Hole, to actually find those kills. Early contention for the Bounty Rune is going to be focused up towards top. Nasus Void and Broodmother might be able to duke it out for the one down towards bottom. Sexy Bamboo at the web could be able to snag this one. We'll have to see. Potential fight breaking out as we do have the disruption onto Alex. They don't get the clap off from Mind Control, but this is going to be our first blood with the avalanche flying through, and Paris is going to get the last hit. Very greedy for the Enigma to go out that, even with some Scarth Mage support.
Yeah, unfortunate start for Goomba there, and it will be nice for the aggressive tri-lane to find something. Looks like a little bit of camp's going to be blocked up here for the Enigma as well. So Alex already off to a pretty poor start. EDE will scout this out, however, and so he has 2 sentries of his own. Perhaps he'll be able to de-ward these. Fucking mad. Going to look to place this cliff sentry here, and he will be able to do so. So that one's going to be a little bit more difficult to de-ward.
This is going to be incredibly annoying for Goomba, and that first blood plus the blocking of the Enigma's jungle is going to mean that he's going to have a terrible time. Left to his own devices up top, Paris is only up against Gasha for now, so that support rotation really isn't going to harm them at all, and then they'll drop the Observer, completely controlling up the enemy woods as well as their pole camp.
Yeah, I'm wondering who you favor in this mid lane matchup. If Exist does opt to max out this Shadow Strike, I kind of favor Mind Control here. The right clicks aren't too strong from the Queen of Pain, but I feel like if he gets that early nuke power, Exist should be just fine. Either way, if he steps up into this lane, I do worry for the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, I think Queen of Pain should have a decent time. Brewmaster should be able to spam it with Thunderclap. It's pretty much just farming on both sides, slight edge towards Quap. Enigma is going to make the decision to go into the enemy woods, and a good decision it is at that. There really isn't anything left for him on his side of the map, so basically unknown. Although they do force Enigma out, he's still going to be able to farm.
Yep, he's got a ward as well. He can drop that down to know when he is safe and when there are rotations coming back for him. Radiant aren't currently aware that he is in their jungle, judging by their vision, so that should be good for at least a couple of minutes for Alex here.
Yeah, it's kind of inferred that he's going to go off into the jungle. They should know where he is, but yeah, they aren't really going to be able to punish it. As we kind of touched on inside the draft, Shadow Demon Aya, not the most potent of killing combinations. The wraparound onto Mind Control. This is going to be a kill onto the Brewmaster 99% of the time with the Eidolon army as well as the Malphus. Alex going to be able to secure that one.
Yeah, interestingly, he couldn't toggle the tower aggro, and with a haste rune, fucking Mad gonna come in and find the return kill. Those Eidolons not able to garner the attention of the tower, unfortunately for Alex. He'll feed over a kill, but certainly more worth it to find the Brewmaster than losing the Enigma.
And he's not done yet. Going to disrupt up as well as curse up Exist and put him down low, but with the bottle flying out to the Queen of Pain, not going to be any lasting damage.
Yeah, no level quite yet in the Shadow Poison, so can't make use of that Soul Catcher. So a little bit odd that he casted that up, but either way, yeah, Exist should be just fine in this mid lane. Fucking Mad rotating back over to the top. Treads are going to be completed up here by Paris. He's farming pretty well, sitting at the top of the CS board, 17 and 8. Fucking Mad in a bit of a precarious position as the pulls are being attempted by EDE, but he'll be able to back off in due time.
Yeah, and for now, basically unknown. Even though that mid lane kill went the way of Goomba, things are still looking great for Paris up towards top. 19 and 9 really hasn't been pressured at all, but then again, Goomba do have to face this Void Queen of Pain and the Enigma farming. This Broodmother, although she isn't getting shut down by any means, she's also not shutting down Chill.
Yeah, so both heroes certainly going to be able to find their farm, and I feel like slight advantage towards Chill having a level 6 than it would be Sexy Bamboo. I mean, he is going to be able to create a bunch of space in this mid game, but that Chronosphere will be able to set up a lot, especially with the support of the Sonic Wave coming in from the outside, as well as that Mystic Flare eventually.
Chill potentially going to be forced to use his time lock, no, but a lot of damage coming up from these spiderlings. As Sexy Bamboo puts a lot of pressure and time lock away. Chill going to barely survive. The spiders running fast through the web are not going to be able to chase him down. With a little bit of Tango regen, he is going to survive, although only just.
Yeah, so he will have to rotate out of lane. It'll give Bembo a little bit of space here. Meanwhile, top lane, the IO is going to run into EDE here, but not quite the kill potential on that Skywrath. He's going to take a few spirits to his backside, and we'll have to back off to the safe, warm arms of Gasha's Centaur. Either way, Alex has begun to find his farm again. He's got 14 last hits, but is fairly behind on this Enigma, and it's definitely something a little bit worrisome for Goomba.
Yeah, after dying twice, it's kind of to be expected, even though he does have a decent jungle rotation at his disposal. Spiderling going to be scouting this out, and Alex is low. Although they don't have the greatest heroes to punish this, if there was a level 6 from Goomba, it would have been easy pickoff.
Yeah, definitely that IO sitting at level 4 now. Just found that tether move speed given over to Paris. They're going to clean this wave up underneath the tower and look to scout out with the spirits. They will find Gasha here. Paris rotating in. He's going to find EDE. Avalanche toss combo. One more right click. We'll be able to bring him down, but the rotation and with the sonic wave brings down the IO. Paris going to die as well for this one. Good rotation from Exist, and that's 2 kills going the way of Goomba for the 1 death on EDE's Skywrath.
Basically known biting off a lot more than they could chew. Very aggressive dive with just those 2 heroes, and honestly I think it was a little bit ambitious by them. Queen of Pain collecting huge in that last DP rotation, even though it does give some room to the Brewmaster in mid, and not all is lost for Basically Unknown. They do need to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, definitely so. It will give her a little bit more experience than the Brew as well, almost hitting up on that level 7. And yeah, as you mentioned, a little bit overzealous from BU. Also, they kind of set it up. Top lane, though, Gasha's going to get a stomp over onto 2. He will be able to retreat and salve up. But yeah, as you mentioned, they kind of gave them a few seconds to know that the gank was coming, and therefore Exist able to TP in before even his Centaur was aggressed upon.
They're looking down towards Bamboo and bottom, level 6, very close in the Faceless Void. In fact, only 5 experience. Just 1 creep dying is going to be, meaning that he has the Chronosphere, and bringing the Skywrath Mage, this could be a pretty easy kill onto Bamboo if he's not careful. There's your level 6 tick coming up from Chill, but that Spiderling army is a little too big for him. With a couple of stout shield procs, they're not doing that much damage, but if he catches out the Enigma, these could be the end of his life. They get the curse over the way of Exist, as Exist is looking towards Mad. The Spiderling army goes in, munching down Alex. TP attempt coming up from Lucky Mad. He is going to be able to stick the landing, and now the Spiderling's going to go to town onto Alex. They just need a little bit more damage on top of this. Soul Ring spawn Spiderlings, and that's the end of Alex's life, and some Eidolons are going to get farmed up too.
Yeah, well played by Bamboo there, and smart TP out from Seb. Not sure he was going to make it on that one, but he does just eke it out. And Exist going to give over some more space to Mind Control as well. He's found his Primal Split and almost the level 7 here.
Yeah, and right now Bamboo, that's going to give him quite an advantage. It's an expected gank once you get that Faceless Void level 6, but he'll just not able to put that to use. No great way to actually stick on to sexy Bamboo, unless he gets a couple lucky bashes.
Yeah, Bamboo also going to look to pick up that early Orchid with the 2 Sages masks in his inventory. That'll be very good against a rotating in Queen of Pain, as well as the Skywrath and the Enigma, if they are willing enough to show themselves 1v1 in this lane. I don't expect Bamboo to get involved in 5v5 engagements, but that will make him a lot scarier as he occupies this lane.
I mean, just look at this. This Spiderling army is zoning out Chill entirely. There's nothing he can do. He's picked up 1 CS out of these, but if there was anywhere close, a Broodmother or any other support, Chill would be dead right now.
Yeah, Bamboo very much so a menace, and he's going to continue to supplement that army. That'll help the wave push in, and he'll start to chunk down at this tier 1 here. He's already got it around 50% HP. EDE just waiting in the wings, but unable to do much. As you mentioned, very susceptible, especially with the low armor to that Spiderling army. And in the mid lane, Mind Control and Exist going to fight for this haste rune here. The disruption going to be a little bit late from fucking Mad, but it will be able to set up a clap with a Soul Catcher. Exist going to take that to the face. Will have to pop the haste rune. He's going to run into Bamboo here, but no Orchid quite yet doesn't mean, or means that they have no kill potential.
Broodmother gets the tower destruction on the tier 1, and even though Queen of Pain survives, it's still not looking great unless they can turn around onto Bamboo. Slow him up with a concussive shot. He is not dusted up yet. They drop a sentry. Bamboo looking over the sideline. Silence up an ultimate from the Queen of Pain, going to mop up the Broodmother and the handful of the Broodlings.
Yeah, and definitely not needed with a level 4 Screen of Pain, 300 damage plus the amplification. It's only a level 1 Ancient Seal, but they bring down Bamboo easily there without the ult. Either way, definitely a good kill, and it will be on cooldown for just over 100 seconds at this point, but doesn't look like they may have used it anytime soon either way. Chill. Posturing up top with the Chronosphere at the ready, looking perhaps for Paris, but the defensive relocate is here if needed from Magoma.
Yeah, I don't think there's really much, if any, kill potential onto this Tiny. And the tier 1 tower there is also going to be falling pretty shortly to Basically Unknown, just a little bit more damage, and then they can toss it down for the last hit. Blink Dagger has been farmed up by Mind Control, as he's been left to his own devices in mid with some rotations out from the Queen of Pain. And now he can look very easily on the kills, especially on the supports with the split.
Yeah, basically Unknown been able to apply a lot of structural pressure here to Goomba. As you mentioned, the 3 tier 1s of BU have taken a collective 86 points of damage thus far from Goomba's lineup. So despite the kill score being 4-4, things looking very good, especially in the farm department as well as in the building department for BU.
Really, the only one that's been able to keep up is this Queen of Pain. Everybody else is falling behind when it comes to the farm. I'm honestly surprised that Enigma hasn't been farming better than he has been, and I suppose it's because he has died 3 times, but even so, it really feels like Alex just hasn't done much on this Enigma except for lose his life.
Yeah, Bambo doing a good job scouting him out with the Spiderlings a couple of times, but that first blood seemed to be pretty detrimental to his ability to farm. He is waiting top lane as the Avalanche toss goes out onto Chill, but no return pressure applied there from Alex, and the Tiny gonna back off after a free combo onto the Void.
Yeah, right now without his IO, so no mana sustain to actually keep him up, but with a quick TP in, this should be Paris getting back up to close to full. He's going to drop all of his items on the ground and then get the extra mana regen from the IO, getting that fresh from the fountain, and that is going to be Paris up at full now.
Jump forward mid lane for mind control. He's using that blink dagger, which he has picked up sub 10 minutes, and he will just throw a clap into the face of Xips. Meanwhile, top lane, Mystic Flare, Chronosphere is there onto Magoma. They've isolated Paris now. He'll get Ancient sealed up, Black Hold as well, and Chill looking to dodge the Avalanche here, but it is on cooldown, so interestingly enough, they'll back off from the solo. Tiny fucking mad rotates in now with the Shadow Demon mind control coming in as well, so they were able to see that through the river, but that's a lot of commitment in a Black Hole and a Chronosphere just for an IO.
Yeah, if I'm the IO, I'm almost perfectly okay with that. Unfortunately, he already used his TP, so he's not going to be here immediately once he respawns. But he's going to be here fast enough, and that's a long time where they actually don't have to worry about the Faceless Void and the Enigma both. That's a minute and a half on cooldown for the Chrono, and a little bit more than 3 minutes on the Enigma Black Hole.
Yeah, interestingly enough, 12-minute Midas coming out for Chill's Void here. So going to look to establish a little bit of late game is Goomba. And meanwhile, Sexy Bambo pushing in the top or the bot lane here. Hasn't found much on this tier 2 as they have rotated down Gasha to stave off any aggression. But he does have a full Oblivion Staff as well as that Sage's Mask and isn't too far off that Orchid, about 1,400 gold from that.
He has the Orchid recipe flying out to him on the courier, and he is very, very close. 900, in fact, until he has that all the way done. And at that point, nobody can safely go into the Broodmother's lane, especially not alone.
Yeah, definitely so. And we are going to see a Stampede Dust Pop bottom. Ancient Seal is there with the concussive shot, but he's going to whiff the Hoof Stomp, and that's something we alluded to in the draft, is Bambo's ability to do that. Relocate is a bit late onto the Centaur bottom, but they'll find EDE with an Avalanche Toss. There's the Spawn Spiderlings as well. Tether move speed will get Paris there, and they will bring down one. Meanwhile, rotating in is Exist, but they'll relocate out barely to dodge that Scream of Pain, and that may have been a double kill if that lands. They're so unfortunate for Exist. He wastes a Sonic Wave as well.
It actually does land on the return end, but they're completely safe. If there was just a little bit more damage, specifically 44 physical onto the IO,
yeah,
about 200 onto Paris, it would have been very easy double kill. Relocate coming out at the perfect time. I actually didn't know that Scream wasn't disjointed by TPs.
Yeah, so interesting enough, it does follow. They get a little bit of heal off from the Tether, however, and that'll keep them up. As you mentioned, the full Ags, though, coming out 13.5 minutes now for Paris, and things getting really scary for Goomba at this point. As you mentioned, really the only one staying relevant is Exist, and he's still quite a ways off of his Orchid. Still needs that Quarterstaff as well as the recipe.
Yeah, Paris going to go to town on these creep waves. This is Tiny with only level 1 Grow getting that Aghanim Scepter. A little bit unfortunate for him, but he is getting a whole lot of farm. Tier 1 tower going to barely survive. The toss was glyphed out, going to survive on 2 HP, as Paris is going to get the last hit anyway, just going to have to wait a little bit longer before doing so.
Yeah, so that's a nice pickup for them. That's 2 tier 1s down now for the side of Goomba, and as we mentioned, nothing touched in the way of towers for BU. Mind Control Hasn't used the split quite yet in this one, and does have the blink available to him, but he'll be ancient sealed up, jump in, Scream of Pain, Mystic Flare is there as well, and they'll be able to bring him down. Nice kill, jump forward as well. There's no Hoof Stomp gonna land onto Seb. Chronosphere will be there, but the disruption is gonna delay most of that duration. Relocate in, toss is there, Thunderclap from the bot back Brewmaster, and they'll trade over the Brewmaster and a buyback for the Void. Currently, they'll be able to destroy a tower in the top, as well. So meanwhile, Paris gets an avalanche toss as well onto Gasha, and that's a double kill going the way of the Tiny as they return, and they'll put a lot of pressure into this tier 2 as well. There's no TPs available from the side of Goomba except for Exist, who's having to fend off this Broodmother in the bot lane.
Although a pretty costly defense by Unknown, and they still lose the tier 1 tower in mid as it creeps. They don't actually secure that deny. Still very worth it because Tiny is getting so much. Involved in 2 kills, getting last hit for Bolt, and now getting a tier 2 tower to his name, Paris, is getting absolutely huge. I'm not sure where you go with the build on the Tiny at this point, but no matter what it is, it's going to be a big item. Exist barely cheaping out down towards bottom with the Orchid, freshly picked up by Bambo.
Yeah, so that is at least known now by Goomba that that's available to them, but it definitely shuts down the Queen of Pain, and as you mentioned, really the only farmer that BU has to be worried about, and the Tiny is currently almost doubling up that Queen of Pain in net worth. So yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, I feel like he's so far ahead that if he just picks up a BKB here, there's really no kill potential onto him. He does have that 1 level into Craggy, so even the Chronosphere in the Black Hole, not sure they're able to pick him off as long as he gets off that Mystic Flare. Speaking of which, mid lane, Disruption goes out onto Mind Control. He'll be sealed up, but he can get off that split now. Blink is up in 1 second as well. He can go in for a Blink clap onto Alex. He's actually going to clap without blinking, but Avalanche Toss will be there. Backtracked, however, by Chilled. Blink forward from Mind Control. One last right click, and they'll bring down the Void once again. This should probably be a tier 1 tower forfeit in the mid lane, especially considering Gasha currently doesn't have his Blink Dagger and is looking to farm it up top.
Yeah, it's going to be an Assault Cuirass for Paris, and at this point he's going to be able to club down heroes and towers alike, and I think he can afford to not go for the BKB with Magoma behind him. Unfortunate enough, they actually give the double damage rune to Magoma. I would have loved to see them pass the bottle to Paris. If for nothing else, just that extra 200 damage is ridiculous for taking towers.
Yeah, especially with Overcharge. He'll throw a toss into this tier 2 mid lane, and that'll be a 5-to-1 advantage in terms of outer tier towers going the way of BU. And Sexy Bambo hasn't put too much into this tier 2, but it is at 50%, and he is postured up fairly aggressively, looking to scout out the lineup of Goomba. They are going to be grouped as 5 in the bottom lane. They do have all their team fight ultimates at the ready, and the Blink has now come out for the Centaur, so if there's one fight for them to need to take, it is the next one.
Yeah. If they have a double life on Paris, you can pretty much forget about killing him. You'd have to finish him inside the Chronosphere or the Black Hole for the first life, and then save the other one for the second life, which just doesn't really feel like it's a possibility, especially if Magoma gets off 1 defensive relocate. That's all that it really takes. They're going to back off a little bit, but we could be in for a big fight soon.
Jump forward, Gasha's gonna miss a Hoof Stomp. Not sure he was scouted out by anyone though. Paris is gonna run into him. Stampede will be used. He'll dodge the Avalanche. Luckily enough, jump forward clap is there from Mind Control. It's gonna whiff completely, and he's gonna get disrupted to avoid the Sonic Wave. However, the Black Hole will be there. They'll bring down the Broodmother. Nicely placed Chrono is gonna stop the IO as well as Paris, but they won't be able to kill anyone in it. And the Primal Split with the Avalanche toss up onto Gasha is gonna bring him down. Avalanche gonna be a little bit early onto Chill, but still will stun him up, and he'll be brought down right before the relocate, which is forward from Paris as well as Magoma. They put a few right clicks into the Exist Queen of Pain. She'll have to back off. Alex running for his life here. Toss forward from the IO is there. Paris gonna have to look to chase him down, and will be able to do so, but it may not be quite in time. He's gonna try and TP out on the high ground. Will he be able to do so? He does. Avalanche is just late, but either way, still a huge engagement going the way of BU, and they did buy back on Bambo, but either way, 3 for 1, and they will be able to take the last outer tier tower from Goomba.
It's not something you see very often at this point in the game, but when you're this far ahead, effectively using those buybacks is pretty backbreaking. Goomba just don't have any outer tier towers left, and at this point, the Broodmother can start making a web network very aggressively around the enemy map, constricting them inside about that line. And then at that point, the threat of Tiny IO and the Broodmother split push is going to be more than enough to stop Goomba from really taking any fights. We have that Assault Cuirass, freshly picked up by the Paris, and even though he went very aggressively towards that kill onto the Enigma and wasn't involved in the last couple of kills with his team, he's still 6-1 and 2, and now has that double life.
Yeah, and with that AC, ever the more scary now for Goomba to face up against him. 12k net worth to the 6.7 of Exist Queen of Pain, who doesn't quite have that Orchid. Will be able to pick it up now without saving for that buyback, and should opt to do so. Definitely does here. They are going to need to take an engagement. However, no black hole for 92 seconds, no chrono for 25. So this tier 3 could certainly be brought down by Paris here, and they'll use him as the battering ram. Magoma is quite a ways away though, so no defensive relocate available to him, but he does have that Aegis as he sits on the high ground.
Casually chunking away more than 100 per swing of his mighty tree, and this is going to be the tier 3 tower falling after Paris just lays a couple more attacks into a blink clap onto Alex. The central ultimate to disengage. They look for the jump onto fucking Mad, and they will be able to bring him down. Chronosphere catches out just as many allied heroes as it does enemies, but they are going to be able to focus down the IO and now bring down the Tiny. That's your Aegis down. T3 Tower is fallen as Bambo goes to town on a poor EDE, and that is going to be the end of Skywrath Mage's life. 3-3 is the trade, but the difference is that basically Unknown still have two of their stronger heroes that are going onto the melee barracks, and it looks like it's going to fall. What can they actually do about this? Goomba have dropped everything.
Yeah, without the Sonic Wave, they have absolutely no potential to even bring these heroes low. And Tiny's sitting on at 2k HP with 24 armor at the moment. Bambo also fairly tanky and does have that Orchid for Exist. So if Exist looks to blink in, he's pretty much dead here. And Bear's going to look to continue the aggression along with Bambo. They'll probably take this tier 3 and back off as the res timers are pretty low, 21 minutes in.
At this point, things get so much scarier for Goomba, as if it wasn't already hard enough. They're going to TP and Avalanche, going to be securing the retreat of Paris, and they had some defensive support coming up from the Shadow Demon and company. They'll drop a Dust, and that catches out Sexy Bambo, but the Spider's just a little too darn fast. They're going to disrupt up Alex as he blinks away immediately before the Illusions can snag him. They stun up Paris. Mystic Flare onto the Tiny. Tiny dropping low, but has backup from the Eye this time around. He's getting healed up way too much. And now looking for that black hole, but not enough mana. He's going to pop the Soul Ring, looking to make a turn. He catches out 4, but where's the follow for it? There's nobody here. Blink Clap on the back lines. It's going to crit down Exist. They finally bring in Gasha, but it's a little too late. Gigi's called out in the worst of times. But Alex going to die, and that's all she wrote in Group B.
Yeah, and BU gonna take this first place overall. They don't take a single game over 25 minutes, so really outclassing the competition there. Well played by them in this one and throughout the group stage in Bridon League, Bridon Open Cup.
They have been looking so very strong, and I'll be looking forward to seeing them later on in the tournament. That said, we should have Group C coming up tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm going to be casting that, but if you do want to watch that, be sure to follow us here on HeflaTV here on Twitch to know when we're going live. It should be starting at 15 CET tomorrow. As for the rest of the social media, Twitter, Facebook, HeflaTV is where you can find us, and for the casters individually, I'm GrandisV, and he's more please known as MRP_Dota on Twitter, so that's where you can find us. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you tomorrow for some more Bridon League.
Yeah, GG guys.